Hey everyone, it's your buddy back again with another exciting fanfic, which is What If Naruto Got Harem with Tsunade, Kaguya and Kushina, Part 2. If you enjoy this story, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more fanfics like this. Now, let's dive right into the fanfic. Second, he had to make sure Sasuke doesn't follow his father's steps. If Sasuke followed the curse of hatred even without much of his father's influence in another dimension, God knows what will happen if his father actively rubbing it on his face. He might turn much, much worse than Sasuke from his dimension. If Izumi massacred the entire clan, Sasuke would worship his father's words like it's a prophecy or something. Here, Naruto has to befriend Sasuke or at least make himself attached to someone other than Izumi. Third, well, he's in bind. Sure, killing Fugaku is easy, but that would destroy his plan to correct Sasuke's way of thought. Not counting that he might had to become missing Nin. And he knew that even if Makoto couldn't care less about his death, it would destroy her heart that he has to leave the village and wandered around elemental nations, not knowing when he will be back. That's not an option. He's in bind in this matter. But then something clicked in his mind. The Uchiha massacre. The answer was right between the line. He could use Uchiha massacre, hopefully in a smaller scale, as a cover-up to run away from Konoha. From what he planned, this might be his chance to get away from the village permanently. Not only that, the gap is quite large for him to train and gain information about Konoha. 2 years gap was big enough to know what's going on in the village. But, something that bothering him was that he only had limited information about outside of Konoha for 2 years. He couldn't afford that, especially because he's afraid the forming of Akatsuki might still happen, even with what's happening in Omegakure. It doesn't even count the fact that Kiri has been silent for few months and Iwa was rumored to build an army to destroy Konoha. The problem was with the identification detection and chakra detection seal surrounding the village. He couldn't get out from the village should he wish to. These put him in bind. If only there's a way to get out of the village without physically moving out of the village, be it a teleportation or something, then even bend space and time. Wait, that's it. Hiraishin. Naruto thought excitedly. He could tag a caravan or container that heads out from the village and use them as a beacon for his Hiraishin. Fortunately, he knew the seal behind Hiraishin. But, that's the only advanced seal he knows. He mentally noted to go to Uzushiogakure as soon as possible. Even if there's nothing to learn there, he still could get Makoto to teach him Fuinjutsu. She herself was a level 9, probably 10 seal master, almost rivaling Minato, but still quite not there with Kushina. But that was good enough for him. He decided to go to the depth of training ground 44, the Forest of Death, to train himself, knowing that probably only Anko was there. He used Shunshin and head towards there. Inside the Forest of Death. After Naruto arrived, he immediately got to work. Taju Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, he yelled and summoned his shadow clones. What he didn't expect was the numbers of clones he spawned. Holy shit, that's a lot of clones, he thought. With his old chakra control and level, he might only spawn 2,000 clones using 80% of his chakra. But this is beyond insanity. With perfect chakra control and denser chakra, he could spawn 12,000 clones. That's right. 12 motherfucking thousands of clones. And guess what? He only used 50% of his chakra. I already told you that, didn't I? Kurama said while giggling, manifested into one of his clones. He could only blush, remembering that he passed out in the middle of her explanation. Sheesh, I don't know that it would be this ridiculous. He pouted, which made Kurama giggled again. I haven't used shadow clones for training since I learned all of those jutsus before the war. He said sheepishly. Well, by learning you mean cramming every single word into your head and make you passed out for 3 days. She said, now laughing. It took him a chakra enchanted punch by Sakura to make him realize it was a stupid idea. Well, at least he knows every ninjutsu, taijutsu, genjutsu, kenjutsu, kinjutsu to the very basic. Well, for kenjutsu, genjutsu, and some kinjutsu are theory only. Shut up, he said while blushing. Love you too, Naru-kun, she said to him. After that, he decided to put genjutsu over them because of the sheer number they were in. Genjutsu. Cycle of day. Genjutsu. Domain of Ouroboros. Genjutsu. Darkness of the damned. After he put the genjutsus, he then went through some hand seals and yelled, water release, stream of million eels. In a mile radius, a ring of water with a width of 5 feet appeared with a speed that only can be described as million of eels. The water was so light that really precise chakra control is needed. Not only that, their speed was so fast that if you don't have enough chakra, you will drown in it. Basically, even more demanding version of water walking. Then, he commanded his clones. Alright, you lot. I wanted 2000 clones training with water walking combined with 10 kunai balancing. 500 clones doing combination of taijutsu katas, 500 on genjutsu, 500 each for every elemental manipulation, 500 each on boil, lava, ice, crystal, wood, scorch, steel, swift and storm release, 1000 on kenjutsu katas, and the rest experimenting with elemental or shape manipulation. Do you understand? He yelled at them. He then went through some hand seals and all tools they needed appeared out of nowhere. Then they yelled in unison. Yes, boss. They yelled and then proceed to do their jobs. Naruto decided to rest a bit. The creation of all things takes quite a toll with his body. After 5 minutes of recovery, which again, contributed by extreme regeneration speed, he pondered his next move. Now, what do I do? He asked himself. He could go to Hyuga's household and meet Hanami and Hanabi, who's still recovering from her father's death. She was still a bit unstable after her father's death. She closed herself from others, only letting her mom, Hinata, and strangely, Naruto to meet her. Other than that, she was completely paranoid that they would kill more of her family. Maybe I should visit Hanabi. Poor girls have to know her father was no more and her sister almost followed by. Not only that, those damn elders tried to provoke Hanabi to hate her sister by feeding her lies. He thought. Yup. Definitely going to Hyuga's. He can't let her innocent soul got tainted by the greed of the elder. Steeling himself, he headed towards Hyuga's household. Hyuga's household. A woman with dark blue hair was making a tea. She stood in 5 feet 4, and has a body that only Hyuga's women could possess. White, smooth skin with no blemishes. Heart-shaped face with everything perfect in it, complemented with their unique white eyes with no pupil. Her F-cup breed and perfect, firm behind was hidden in a modest, long white kimono. She was Hanami Hyuga, Hyuga's matriarch. She was just finished another pointless meeting with the elders. Well, more precisely it was yelling battle between them. She sighed deeply. Ha, those meetings are really not that useful. Now I know why Hiyashi-kun never liked them in the first place. They always asked something to strengthen their position and turned us into puppets. Not only that, they seemed to take interest towards Hanabi-chan, she thought. She knew that Hizashi also thought the same in this matter. They both the quality, but the elder won't change their way of thought. So, every time they decided to do these meetings, they decided to ask if there's any replacement for Hiyashi, before the branch house voted for Hizashi and the main house voted for her, and then it continues to screaming battle that probably only Haruno could do. Not that it really matters to her. The only thing that really bothers her was Hanabi. Hanabi's the one who took it the worst. Of course after the incident, Hinata always blamed herself that her father died. But, Hanami could bring her back and set her right again. Hanabi. Oh, that poor girl. Only 5 years old and she had to know that her father was no more. She already tried to cover up the incident by not involving Hinata in it. She doesn't have a heart to see Hanabi hating her own sister for something that she's also the victim. Thankfully, there's a boy who seems to cheer Hanabi a lot whenever he visited. Uzumaki-san, she said quietly. The clan, in general, hated him except her family and many of branch members. After the Kumo incident, which most of them only known her savior as the mysterious man, she gets to know him more from that day. Many of them hated and feared him by just the fact he contained Kyuubi. Of course, knowing how seals work, she knew that Kyuubi won't be out if someone didn't set it off. More than that, he seems to be an orphan that was unlucky enough to have Kyuubi sealed inside him, other than Hokage's daughters. She doesn't really know why Kushina didn't take a custody for him, considering that he's an Uzumaki, granted that he's only half-blood Uzumaki or so. But, because she's a year younger than her, she only knows Kushina when they worked a few times together. Because of that, their relationship doesn't really make them friends, more of comrades in arms. After she took a sip of her tea, a Hyuga came into the room. Hanami-sama, we got a visitor. The Hyuga said. Who is it? Akira-san. Hanami asked. It was Uzumaki-san. He came to visit Hanabi-sama. The Hyuga answered. Hanami sighed in relief. Thanks Kami-sama that the branch member was the one guarding. She couldn't take more of those stuck-up pricks that tried to shun him away so they could keep their reputation from being tainted by the demon. Send him in, she said with a bit of the smile. That boy always seems to be happy. She always remembers his blue eyes that shines like stars and his cute smile. She also liked his attitude. It could make a perfectionist Hyuga proud, but he could relax if the time was right. Whoever taught him that, they must be really proud of him. After a moment, Naruto appeared in front of the room. Good day to you, Hanami-sama. He said and bowed a bit. She also bowed a bit, as Hanabi-chan here today. I wanted to play with her. Of course. She smiled a bit and said, as usual, she's in the room, waiting for you. Thank you very much for the information and hospitality today, Hanami-sama. He bowed again. She only smiled at his gesture. After that, he started to walk towards Hanabi's room. Out of nowhere, an idea appeared. A crazy idea. That could work, she thought while inwardly giggling. This ought to be interesting. Naruto strolled his way to Hanabi's room while taking in the scenery. He's been in clans, home, and knew what they looked like, but it still caught him off guard that what he called a mini village is just an entire compound for a clan. I have to say though, Hyuga's compound is definitely one of my dream places. I mean, their house, the nature and the architecture blended so well. Not mentioning a huge fish pond, a big forest, simple enough layout to remember, but complex on the inside. Always had a blast whenever I went to explore their compound. Naruto thought. He already visited all of Clan's house compound in young age, but only few truly rivaled the Hyugas and their peer. Well, those kinds of complexes are only owned by Kage of a hidden village, daimyo, or only some of the most prestigious clans in elemental nations. These kinds of complexes are filled with above 600 people to even 2,000 peoples. Well, except the Senjus. Speaking of the Senju, where's Tsunade Ba-chan? I haven't seen her in any of my memory. He thought. With his photographic memory, the chance of him missing a clip or two about her is almost zero. He saw Shizune in the memory a few times, especially in his sister's birthday, which only made out two possibilities. Either she didn't take Shizune as her apprentice, which is very unlikely because Shizune talked a lot about her, or she just somehow learned medical jutsu by herself, which again very unlikely because the way she healed Kasumi and Minami after their spars is mostly the same as Shizune from his world. This left him really confused. I mean, there's no way Minato didn't ask her to be their godmother, along with Ero Sennin. I have to look for her later. I can only hope for her the best right now. He thought. He recalled that she and his mother was close, both in this world and his world. If Kushina was having a baby, much less a triplet, he's sure she would be ecstatic to know and take care of him, her. It made him chuckle a little. Despite being a bit of an alcoholic and have an uncurable addiction to gambling, she was still a woman in her heart. He shook his thought off and then continued his walk. He thought about what he would do with Hanabi. He wanted to clear this problem once and for all. The girl was really suffering because of it, and he knew that sooner or later, she might snap and bend towards what the elder wanted. He made a mental note to cut those old fools. Not saying that he didn't respect old people, in fact he does. He remembered when he was young, many of those elders, on the civilian side at least doesn't do anything to him. Note that he was saying the civilian side, which was ironic because the younger generation was on the other side of the spectrum. The elder from Shinobi's side really hated him. Well, hate is not the word he would use, more of despise him. The Hyuga would always keep him away from even the faintest step on their front gate, fearing that the demon would tarnish our name and lower our position, while the Uchiha would even goes as far as attacking him. But the one he hated the most is the Elder Council. Shimura Danzo immediately came into his mind. Right, I forgot that bitch motherfucker Danzo is still alive and manipulating some children or whatever here. That explains a shiver I got when I was on my way here. Thank Kami-sama that neither he or his bitches are smart enough to figure out what a mastered Shunshin could do. Going to thanks Shisui-san for that. He thought. He sometimes still wonders why Shisui would have a thought of, alright, I want people to know me with my freaking E-class ninjutsu turned into SSS rank kinjutsu which could bring the end of humanity by moving very fast. Yup, that's what I want, let alone actually did that. Back to the topic, he knew Danzo pulled some strings in the event inside and outside of Konoha. But, with how this dimension goes and how Minato acted based from his memory, he knew either Danzo is even more daring now because they both wanted the best for the village, or Danzo was outplayed by him, which was completely possible, judging by his own experience. He sighed, damn it, I know that moving to another dimension is a thing, but thinking about those people or another, he thought. He's still completely clueless about how many things change there. He needed to go to the library as soon as he can. After he arrived, he stood on the front door. He inhaled deeply and knocked on the door. Nothing. He tried to knock the door again. The same happened. He tried to call her. Hanabi-chan, it's me, Naruto. Can I come in? He asked. Still no answer. Hanabi-chan. He called her a bit louder. Again, nothing. I'm coming in, he said and then slid the door open. There, he saw a dim room. He was surprised. Was Hanabi out in the park or somewhere? He asked himself. But then, he sensed a movement from her room. Naruto then tried to look for the source and found that it was from her bed. He then just realized something or someone was covered in her blanket. He closed the door and approached the blanket slowly. Using his enhanced hearing, he heard a low sob escaped. What is she doing? He thought. He opened the blanket slowly, only to find Hanabi curled up in the bed crying. He wanted to call her but then. Naruto ni-sama, you liar. She cried and lunged towards her body and closed one of his tenketsu. Damn it, he thought while trying to dodge Hanabi's assault. He wanted to stop her, but her chakra was in distraught, mix of anger, pain, and hate. Naruto decided to take some hit while dodging her. While he was dodging, she was starting to have a breakdown. You lied to me, ni-sama. You said Hinata ne-sama was not involved. You said that ne-sama still can't move on. But what did I see? She is happy. She doesn't think about Otou-sama anymore. She used to sama so she could be the clan heiress and loved by everyone. She used to sama so she can do anything she want. She used to sama kindness to help herself. Now everyone will forget about to-sama. I won't let her. I will become the clan heiress and I will show them that ne-sama is evil. She yelled at him, clearly angry. She can't believe her sister is a liar. She used people to get what she wanted. She used her father like a toy and throw him away when she could get a better one. That despicable woman. But she wasn't done yet. She's still angry with a man. A man she trusted so much. But you, Oni-sama. She yelled while increasing her speed like never before, you manipulated me, ni-sama. You lied about her. You lied about being sad about to-sama. You lied about how you feel bad about me. You just used me so you could affiliate yourself with the Hyuga. You used me as a reason to defend yourself from the elder. They told me the truth. You're no my Oni-sama, or should I say, Kyuubi. She cried out. How could she be so blind? Of course Kyuubi would use her while she's downhearted. He would show some love just to make her forget about her father and forgive her sister like it's nothing. How could she even trust him in the first place? Naruto was shocked and angry at the same time. Those old bag of shit. They twisted her and tainted her innocent soul just to get power. They lied to a fucking 5-year-old just to use her. They use a lost child to be their lapdog. Those fuckers will pay. Hanabi-chan, how could you believe them? He asked while dodging her strikes. He started to recall his memories. Don't you remember those scary stares that you told me? Don't you remember those creepy faces that they showed? Don't you remember how your timid Nei-chan would stand up to them? Your Nei-sama, so sweet and harmless, she wouldn't hurt a fly, stood up to them like they don't even scared her. He asked her, hoping that something got through her. When she didn't show any reaction, he decided to bombard her with questions again. Or did you forget how much time I spend with you, even doing nothing? How many ice cream, sweets, or cinnamon buns we shared? How far would I go just to see your smile? How I treasured you more than anything I had? How lonely I am before I met you in Hinata? He asked, but in the end, he cracked. Again, damn those memories of him actually get through his mask. Hanabi flinched a bit. She still remembered those memories as clear as they were made. But, remembering what the elder said, she steeled herself. She won't be fooled again by him. Never. No. All of them were lies. 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 I hate you. I wish you never came into my life. She cried out. She didn't care how much it hurt her body. She would destroy him as a start to make people remembers about her father. Naruto was desperate. This totally went south from his expectations. Looks like he failed to prevent her from falling. He has an option, but he rather not to. It was cruel, it was manipulative, it was devious. Do it, Naru-kun. Kurama said. Seeing that Naruto won't do it, she continued, this called for psychological attack, Naru-kun. You know that nothing would get through a child's mind if they wanted to. I also don't want to do this. But, it's the best thing you could do instead trying to get through her head. Naruto hesitated. Deep inside, he knew by doing that, he made a hypocrite out of mentioning how much it could affect Hanabi and how cruel it was. It was a viable option and it could clear the problem but. Fuck. Fuck this fucking piece of shit. He thought and he grabbed her hands. Hanabi struggled to escape from his grasp, before Naruto whispered in a heartbroken tone, a mixture of his acting and his remorse, Hanabi-chan, if that's really what you want, I won't bother you again, never again, but remember one thing, last thing that I wanted you to hear, don't give yourself to hate, they will only cause you pain, he said to her. He then used Shunshin and moved to somewhere else. He just wanted to let out his feelings. Meanwhile, Hanabi was shocked, but then passed out from her exhaustion. Forest of Death. Naruto just started to beat everything there. Nothing matters. 20 feet giant anaconda, 3-headed giant lizard, 2-headed tiger bear hybrid, 25 feet wood monster or whatever the hell it was, he just beat the shit out of them with his taijutsu. Meanwhile, Kurama was pumping a bit of her chakra to calm him down. He felt dirty. He felt like a hypocrite. He felt like a liar. He dared to do something like that to someone close to him, and a child no less. How could he atone his sins for what he has done? Kurama, knowing exactly what he was thinking, just sighed. This part is both what she loved and hated the most. He's too compassionate, too kind, too pure even after all things that happened with him. She knew that Naruto was never the manipulative kind. He always acts first and thinks later. He never used something like that before because he's an honest person. He always wore his heart on his sleeve, and he never liked underhanded tactics like that. Damn him, though. If this happened when he was younger, I would have asked him this and probably doesn't feel anything other than satisfaction. Guess he really changed the way I am, she thought. Naruto changed her from such a degree of hate into actually caring for someone else that she personally didn't knew. She could have told Naruto to do the same with Hanabi. The problem was the time and how he had to gamble with luck. It took Naruto no less than 5 years to have that relationship with her, and if everything that she thought came into reality, she had to make him finish this problem as soon as possible. Not counting that Hanabi, as far as she remembered, was average kunoichi at best. Not saying she's mediocre, but her history isn't as colorful as Naruto, or even Hinata. I know it was insidious, Naru-kun. I know you hate it with your guts to do something like this. I know you might really hate me right now. She flinched at the last part, but she continued, but, sooner or later, you got to do it. You can't just do what your heart tells you. Kaguya gave us another chance in happiness. The game isn't the same anymore. You know that Minato here could play the whole village like a puppeteer. There will be cases in the future where you had to resort to your talking. I don't like to know that I'm manipulating someone's close to you, let alone a 5-year-old, but this called for it. Kurama said to him. She knew that in order for Naruto to gain his happiness there, he had to stood up to Minato. She knew that Minato is one sly fox, even in their dimension. With this one where he could manipulate the whole village while gaining advantage to his own, no doubt that Minato got some cards under his sleeve to control Konoha even further. Naruto just continued to pounce everything around him. He knew that this bound to happen, whether he likes it or not. After the improvement he got, his logic always worked first. He can't be the Naruto who ignored the consequences and does everything to his heart desire. His brain knows it was a right thing, but his heart never stopped to yell it was wrong. Even if I's a right thing to do, doesn't mean I have to like it. He said to her, more like a spat. Kurama just smiled sadly at him. So mature, yet childish. Don't you remember how stubborn you were with Sasuke and your early obsession to defeat him, even though you know you would lose? How you wanted to be recognized that you do those pranks? Or do you even forget that you used a bright orange jumpsuit to make people look at you? They're called children for reasons, Naru-kun. They are obnoxious, does the stupidest thing, gullible, always looking attention, always looking for praises because they're pure and untainted. We as their environment, created what the children will be. You grown up like that because what people around you did. The same as she is now. You can't just expect a 5-year-old to understand nor think that far. The only thing you could do is by showing her that you actually care about her. In the end, it's her decision to trust you or not. Advised her. From even the first time chakra existed, she knew that a human child is just the most intriguing thing that Kami-sama had given to them. 1,000 years she had lived, thousands of children she had witnessed, some of them flourish and even bring an evolution, while some failed or even rotted and become a thorn. Naruto finally calmed himself down. Kurama was right. Ultimately, it was Hanabi's choice to trust him or not. But, he would be damned if he would let those elder corrupted her even more. He hoped that even if she doesn't trust him anymore, she would at least remember some of his words. But until then, it's not over for him. Thank you, Kura-chan. You would be a good mother someday. He said to her, exuding calm chakra. Kurama was taken aback. Did he indirectly propose to me? She thought heatedly, blush starting to creep up to her face. Images of her and Naruto with 3 kids playing on a grass field. Her family. Her ultimate happiness. What she didn't know, however, was that she was thinking out loud and Naruto heard her. Naruto blushed by that implication. But, with a smile adorned in his face, he appeared into his mindscape and kissed her forehead. She was so surprised, she yelped. Once you were out of the seal, Kura-chan, I will make you my wife, he said while caressing her face, and then got out of his mindscape. Kurama was so shocked, happy, and angry at the same time. Her face turned redder than her kimono color, and she just fell down and rolled around in the mindscape with her hands covering her steaming face. Mo. Baka. 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 Why he's so kind and mischievous at the same time. I hate him, she thought while rolling around. Naruto just laughed at her reaction. After a while, he heard a small voice coming from her. I will hold your word on that, she mumbled. Naruto just smiled gleefully. He feels very lucky to have a girl like his Kura-chan. Naruto saw the sun starting to get a bit orange. He decided to dispel his shadow clones there. After around 15 minutes of processing his memory, he made another 10 shadow clones and asked them to read every single book in the library. He got a job to do. Infiltrating Hokage Tower. He started his preparation for tonight's raid. Clearing near the Hokage's tower. After Naruto got there, he got to work immediately. He released his Henjin Am-10 shadow clones and asked them to scout the area. After the clones dispelled, he used his Rinne Sharingan to confirm their location. 10 Anbu, all of them are standby. No suspicious movement or chakra usage. Looks like they're connected with each other. I have to knock them out first, he thought. He made 10 elemental clones and said, alright, if any of you got detected, just dispel or use elemental shunshin to get away from there. When I spike my chakra a bit, knock them out with your Senbon. Make sure they're out for a while. If any of them were about to gain their consciousness, dispel yourself from there. Understood? Yes, boss. They answered and moved to their location. He then pulled out a kunai and cut a bit of his finger. After a bit of the blood was collected, he went through some hand seals. Blood clone, he said, and a clone of him appeared. Be a good actor, okay. I expect a surprise coming from you, he said and smirked at him. Yes, boss. He smirked back at him and moved out. Real Naruto moved closer to the tower, and then used a jutsu. Earth release. Earth spear, he said and punched the ground. He detected some movement, but all of them were cut off short after that. Alright, let's infiltrate it from the rooftop, and then head straight toward the archives, he thought. After Pain's attack, he was lucky enough to witness the rebuilding of the tower, including its blueprint. Because of that, he knows that there's a small trap door that can be used for emergency door. The door was sealed with a blood seal, something that's easy to bypass. Who would have thought their Hokage's son was going to infiltrate his dad's workplace? After he went through the small area, he arrived at the training ground 0, Hokage's personal training ground. After that, he went through the training ground and to back of the armory. There, he found a door. He knew that the door was rigged with chakra identification seal, voice recognition seal, memory identification seal, and yet another blood seal. He might not pass all of those seals, if only not because of this one seal. The sound of sirens was heard. One of the seals immediately glowed, sign of being activated. With perfect henge, perfect chakra control and tuning, and his blood, he passed those seals. After that, he made 10 shadow clones and commanded them to read all of it and to tell him if there's something interesting. He proceeded to activated his Rinne Sharingan and read any scroll he could grab. He read the scroll of seals, warring period journal, to even Shadaime Hokage's personal journal. Thanks to his improved brain, he couldn't die from memory overload. He was there for around 2 hours or so. He wanted to lash out because all the information that he got from the archive. He felt that his blood boiled from reading many of them. But, he was disturbed by the memory of one of his shadow clones. One of the Anbu was getting up. But, he couldn't help but smirk so wide it hurt his jaw. The genius. The absolute madman. After leaving a Hiraishin mark on one particular folder, he used Hiraishin and get his SS out of there. Oh, how nobody could be wiser to know it was a one-man show. At the back of his apartment. After he arrived, he used his perfect henge to turn himself back into 8 years old. He went back to his apartment. He expected his room to be clear. What he didn't expect was after he took a step inside, Makoto appeared in front of him with a shunshin and jumped at him. Naruto-kun. Thank goodness you're alright. Where have you been while there's an attack? Makoto asked worriedly, looking at him with no bullshit look. After she just got home, heard some ranting from his husband, and took a bath. There was an attack. Her mind immediately thought about Naruto. He could be somewhere, not knowing anything, killed, tortured to death, or even kidnapped. With that thought, she searched the entire Konoha. Thankfully, her status was retired and she didn't have to go to the front line. But after searching for an hour, she couldn't find him anywhere. Then, she decided to make a chakra detection seal, hoping that Naruto would be there. But, after another hour, she considered going to the front line and torture the fuck out of them if they were involved. But then, her seals activated. Naruto was surprised. How could she know the moment he was in the room? Then he reminded himself that Makoto here was one of the best Fuinjutsu user. She might put a detection seal or something in his room. Thanked Kami-sama that she was alright. But, he's in pinch. Is there any way out there? And those Sharingan, it bored into his soul. Remember what I said this afternoon, Naru-kun, Kurama said in a sing-song tone. He got the meaning, but what he could possibly say to her when he was faced like that. I ran away because I thought they were looking for me. He said with a tone of sadness, and words just rolled out of his tongue. I thought that those sirens are warning that Kyuubi might break free. I ran into Forest of Death to lessen the damage I'm about to unleash. I'm afraid that I'm going to cause more suffering. I'm afraid that I'm going to destroy the village again. I'm afraid that I'm going to kill you. He said and started to sob at the end. Inwardly, he was shocked how well he could act at all of that. Damn, Koyuki would be proud of him. Makoto just stared at him. Of course he doesn't know anything about Fuinjutsu, let alone 8 trigram seals. He had to run all the way to the Forest of Death weighted by something that shouldn't be him. He was scared that he thought that he might bring another tragedy to the village. He was scared because he thought he would kill her. Naruto then continued his oh-so-tragic sob story worth OF 200,000 Ryo each show. I'm afraid that I had to saw you body, cold, lifeless, because of my hand. I don't want to lose those warm feelings, not again. No, he openly wept with his 3 galoon worth of crocodile tears. He should have been an actor in the first place. Damn him. Makoto saw that he's openly weeping, hugged him tightly. Damn her for not showing him some Fuinjutsu to reassure himself that Kyuubi won't came out unless he deliberately opened the seal. And he's an Uzumaki, damn it. Who kept away an Uzumaki from Fuinjutsu are either an idiot or they fear them that much. Shish, she whispered to his ear, Kyuubi won't came out if he wanted to. I already know and made sure of it. If you don't trust me, I will teach you Fuinjutsu starting tomorrow and you will know that it won't came out unless you want to. Naruto ended his fake crying and faked a sniffle. Really? Of course, she said while still patting his head. Thank you so much, he said happily and hugged her. Makoto felt a blush started to creep up to her face. She hugged him back and said, anything for you, Naruto-kun. I'm going to cash in that favor with Shizune. Makoto thought. After a while, they just stayed there and talking whatever topic came in their mind. After that, Makoto bid farewell to him and left his apartment. Immediately, he went to sleep to sort the shitstorm he got from the archives. Naruto Mindscape. When he appeared in his Mindscape, Kurama's already reading all the information, perceived as books in his Mindscape. Some of them had silver or gold mark in it. But, there's one book that colored bright red. He already knew the contents, but he decided to check it again and see if there's anything undermining from that particular book. There are 4 projects in there. The first one is Project Flower of the Sacrifice. The project was designed by Senju Hashirama as a way to jump-start the start of Konoha. After experimenting with his battle with Madara and found out that Mokuton could suppress a Biju, Hashirama went and subdued all the Biju and basically make them all a bargaining chip. This project was designed to get as much bloodline limit as possible, gain as much resource as possible, and gained Konoha a buffer from another village's attack. This project was a huge success. Konoha gained many, if not all bloodline limit across elemental countries, a ton of jutsu scroll in their manipulation, and a guarantee that Konoha won't be attacked as long as Hashirama lived. Naruto hated this one. With their documentation and proof that the document was real, he found out that this Konoha was a much, much darker place. While scrolls, resource, and money could be given without any problem, the bloodline limit was gathered with much more cruelly. Hidden villages would send a team to do something on the border, and Konoha Nin would kill the members and capture the bloodline users. After that, they would be confined in a special wood coffin that would only open if they need a breeding stock. This what caused Konoha to prevail on First Shinobi War, with their colorful bloodline limit. This later would inspire Kumo to do the same much later, albeit with smaller success rate. Kurama on the other hand, hated the fact that Biju were used as a bargaining chip. Not that it never crossed her mind that Hashirama might split the Biju for more than balance of power. Thankfully, Hashirama in their dimension is a good man at heart. This Hashirama, however, was not. The second one is Project Fox Den. The project was designed by Senju Tobarama to keep whoever Kyuubi Jinchuriki are in Konoha. This plan was approved by Shadaime Hokuge. Also, this project directly sub-linked the Project Vortex Breaker, the project where they would let Uzushiogakure to be destroyed and loot their ruins as their ally, and also Project Waterspout, where they will hold any surviving Uzumaki into Konoha. The sub-projects were made by Sarutobi Hiruzen. The plan in the Fox Den was including arranged marriage between Uzumaki Mito and Senju Hashirama, power as a noble clan in Konoha's council, and moving Uzumaki Kushina to the village. This project was considered a success. The sub-projects, however, were failure. They could give access to Uzushiogakure, but they didn't account the stubbornness of the Uzumaki and their loyalty to the village, which caused almost nothing was salvageable from the ruins. The loss of Uzumaki Mito because of stress was also quite a blow to Konoha's Fuinjutsu specialist, which was remedied by Uzumaki Kushina, the last of the royal Uzumaki. The interesting notes, however, was a rumor that an Uzumaki Mito actually lived and fled from to the village. This note was dismissed because when Root went through all the suspects and checked their memories, it turned out to be false. Naruto was boiling with anger after he reread it again. Those fuckers let his village got destroyed and wanted to pillage their home. How dare they? They dared to try stealing from his village and went as far as betraying their own allied. All for the sakes of power. Oh, he knows his new goal. He would destroy this fucking village if that's the last thing he would do. Kurama, however, was more interested to the fact that Mito was alive. Nobody knows except her and Mito herself that she's the one behind Edo Tensei creation. It's possible that Mito knew what's going on and improved it to such an extent she could cheat death, considering the circumstances. Though, she agreed to blast this rotten village to oblivion. And she will do it gladly. The third one was Project Kit. This project was devised by Sarutobi Hiruzen to make Kushina stayed and had a child there. Because Kushina didn't like living there and as the result, being distant and cold, Hiruzen made this covert operation to keep Uzumaki bloodline running. This plan was then given to Namikaze Minato as a long-term mission. This plan was a success. Kushina fell in love with Minato and he had 3 kids. Oh, how both of them wanted to go straight to that bastard Minato and torture him as long as he lived. They found out that there are 3 seals on Kushina to made her their breeding stock. They are Emotion Control Seal, Mind Control Seal, and a Tenketsu Overload Seal. And when did he put them, you ask? Well, it was on that motherfucking kidnapping day. Their supposed to be romantic moment turned out to be fake. All of it. How dare he control her emotions and thought? How fucking dare that bastard? And that leads nicely to 4th project, Project Shadow Fox. This project was designed by Namikaze Minato to improve Neo Uzumaki bloodline. By giving away Kyuubi chakra to both his daughter, their chakra coils would eventually change, thus giving them Kyuubi-sized chakra along some bloodline limit given through being Kyuubi Jinchuriki that could be passed on to their kids. Naruto at this point, is actively clamping his mouth just not to curse that Hokage son of a bitch. Again, He put additional seals to Kushina. Memory suppression seal, emotion trigger seal, and dead man trigger seal. As if those seals are not enough to enslave her. Even Kasumi and Minami got some seals on them. Memory suppression seals, emotion trigger seals, memory modification seal for Kasumi and memory redirector seal for Minami, Tenketsu suppressor seals and yet again another dead man switch seals. And guess what? All of those seals would activate should they see or heard him or his name. This bastard would even enslave and kill his own fucking family just for the fucking village. Trying to calm himself down, he found a particular seal that doesn't seems to make sense. Hey, Kura-chan, do you know what's this Tenketsu overload and Tenketsu suppression seal is for? He asked through his teeth, trying to keep his anger at bay. Kurama, after hearing those words, snapped, that bastard put a seal into a Tenketsu on top of their heads. Every female Uzumaki has that Tenketsu. It was supposed to be a mark for their life mates. A bit of their chakra would leak and try to sync with another people's chakra. Whoever synced with their chakras were their life mates. Minato forced open that chakra point when he saved Kushina, basically manipulated her brain and heart to love Minato, while Kasumi and Minami's one were blocked so they wouldn't see anyone more than friends. He couldn't suppress it anymore. He finally snapped. He tried to hold it, but after he heard that Kushina was turned into his fangirl and turn his sisters so they can't feel love, pure anger leaked and he put out killing intent so heavy that Kurama herself who's angry even flinched. Minato, you're a fucking dead man, you son of a bitch. Mark my word, you little lying bitch. He's angry. That bastard manipulated their minds and hearts. Their rights to choose were taken by him. Their rights to live with her own decisions were twisted away by him. He turned a woman into mindless fangirl that would only heard her Minato words, and they turned his own daughters into persons who wouldn't know love. There's a way to fix this, Naru-kun. She said, trying to calm him down. After hearing the word, fix, he put his full attention to her. How? He asked simply. We could nullify the seal's effect. It can't be released instantly or they would die instantly. We have to ruin it little by little. The seals were already there for too long for Kushina. It would take years to repair her brain and Tenketsu. The seal Minato using could only be activated if he gave it a bit of chakra every now and then. You could destroy the seal and replace it, or you could change the seal's array so instead of reinforcing the seals, they would destroy themselves. The problem is that Fuinjutsu is beyond your scope right now. We need Makoto to teach you Fuinjutsu. Hell, I think going to Uzushiogakure might be necessary should you know that the seal's array was much more complex than normal seals. That's the plan from now on. Fuinjutsu is our priority from now on. I would not let that bastard control someone's life. Kushina had been trapped with a monster of a man and both Minami and Kasumi had been controlled by a devil of a father. It's my fucking job to clear all of this mess and kill that bitch. After that, I will fucking demolish this village to its fucking core. This village was made and led by evils that only cares about their village and names, not their people. I won't live in this godforsaken village. I won't be cage of this village. No. Uzushiogakure will rise again. He ended his speech, which gained a smile from Kurama. And I will be there by your side as your beloved wife. She said and smiled proudly. Naruto then embraced her and captured her lips. Then, they started their tongue battle. After a while and both feeling satisfied, they broke up their kiss. Nay, Naru-kun, she called sweetly in her melodious voice, which sent a shiver to Naruto. What is it, Kura-chan? He asked with a sing-song tone, which made her hot. That voice won't be boring to heard for a long time. I love you, she said with lust to his ear. I love you too, he said with the same fervor and kissed her again. After that kiss, they broke off the hug and leaned on against each other. They continued their reading in peaceful mood, surrounded by lush grass field and a blue sea across the distance. A thought crossed his mind. Another new day in Konohagakure no Sato. Naruto woke up like he does every day. But his mind says otherwise. After sorting yet another batch of information dump, he honestly felt that he hadn't slept for weeks. But, thanks to his improved mind and body, that tiredness was gone pretty quickly. Well, that was quite a news. He thought to himself. Not only that he got all the info about Konoha's secret projects, he got all the information about all the shinobi that Konoha ever had, all the trades that happened, even on the back door, to every spying route that made even Jiraiya's one seems like a rat's tunnel. Those jutsus though. I can't imagine Hashirama Gigi really make those jutsus. Naruto thought again. While he thought he knew all of Shadaime's and Nadaime's Hokage jutsus, he wasn't quite hit the mark. In that dimension, both of them had some really messed up shit. Like wood release, thorns of the roses or water release, wrath of Ryujin, which judging by their casualty report from their sides and others kills hundreds to thousands of people. Naruto was surely surprised. He couldn't fathom the thought of that Senju Hashirama, a man filled with compassion, silliness, and sometimes stupidity that even competed him, could think of a jutsu that trapped the victim into genjutsu, numbed their pain receptors, and made them see their body, only to find out that it was being impaled by thorns in every single non-lethal spots both inside and outside, and then release the genjutsu to overload their head with so much pain they died instantly. Whatever. Now, let's see what my prank caused today. He thought and chuckled. Oh boy, after he got the information from his clones, he knew that he just made the pieces he needed. Alright. He got up from the bed and stretched a bit. I should go to the place Makoto-san mentioned. He said to himself. He already decided that he had to master Fuinjutsu first. He took a fast, and unfortunately cold shower, made some breakfast and packed a bit of the leftover, and then go to the far side of Naka River. Then he remembered. Right, those root Anbi us. He thought. He just discovered that Minato decided to send a root member every 2 days since Naruto could avoid detection from normal shinobi from now on. If Minato knew that he was getting stronger, he could jeopardize Ho's whole plan. He cut his thumb and made some hand seals. Blood clone. He said, and a clone of Naruto appeared. Can you be a dumb person, please? I know you're the master of it. He said to his clone. His clone only looked back with a strange face. You know that you're basically saying that you're dumb yourself, right? The clone said. Naruto only looked at him with an annoyed expression. Well, you get the point. I know I was a dumb kid. Can you act like that? He asked. The clone then made a shit-eating smile and shout. Alright, time to start a day. I'm going to be the best Hokage, TT Ibeo. He shouted. Naruto got a shiver down his spine. Holy shit. I don't think I'm this obnoxious when I was a kid. Fuck. Now I remember everything. He said and slowly rolled his body. Then he started shivering and his eyes were blank while mumbling something incomprehensible about his life. His clone looked at him with flat face which said, what the hell? Meanwhile, Kurama was having a time of her life, ha ha ha. That was a perfect impression of your childhood, Naru-kun. And you know, I still remember everything, she teased at the end. Hearing that, Naruto started rocking his body and mumbled, Naruto is fine as he is. Getting tired of his shenanigan, the clone decided to give him a chakra enchanted flick to his forehead with an equivalent power of a wind release, Rasenshuriken. After that flick, Naruto snapped out his trance. Ow, what the hell, Datbeo? He snapped at his clone. His clone only shrugged. And I'm the one who's supposed to act dumb, he said and looked away. Ha, that's because you don't experience what I saw. He said while keeping his hand folded, whatever. Just do what you have to do. Just don't reach that level and you're gold. Report to me when we do our training. Got it? Sure thing, boss. He said and he got out of his room. Meanwhile, Naruto headed to his own destination. Waterfall near the river. After he arrived there, he found a small house near the waterfall. There he saw Makoto practicing her kenjutsu. Naruto could only be awed by the beauty and fluidity of the movement. Every strike of her ninjutsu is clean and beautiful, like a dance. He reminded himself to definitely learn bukijutsu, other than his current katana training. Makoto, who's just minding her own business, felt someone staring at her. She wanted to lunge the pervert that was staring at her so intently, only to find out that it was Naruto. She felt a blush appeared on her face. She couldn't help but feel happy that Naruto was admiring her. She's no show-off like many of her clan, but seeing that Naruto looking at her like that, it feels really nice, she thought happily. No men have ever seen her as a kunoichi. They are usually eyeing her like she's an object, a prize to win over. But Naruto was different. His age doesn't measure up to his matureness. She felt her chest swelled up a bit with pride. After she finished, she went to greet him. Good morning, Naruto-kun. Naruto, who was awed by her performance, just stammered, morning, Makoto-san. Then he continued, you were really beautiful there. He said and smiled at her. Makoto, who heard his compliment, just stood there frozen. Naruto just complimented her. He just said that she was beautiful. Her face immediately turned red. Her heart soared with unknown happiness. Damn him and his smile. Thank you, Naruto-kun. She answered shyly. She never imagined the day that she would blush like those fangirls. Naruto, who saw her face, just grinned at her and offered her his lunch box. I had a bit of leftover from the breakfast. Do you want it? Makoto smiled a bit and accepted it. Thank you, Naruto-kun. Then, they sat on the porch in front of the house and she ate it. She could proudly say that his cooking is that on the level on some chefs her clan had, even better. The mix of his determination, abuse of shadow clones, and his own brightness really made him excel in housework, especially cooking. She felt really special because this is the side only she knew. The thought of that made her really happy and embarrassed at the same time. After she finished her meal, they proceed to enter the house. Naruto took a good look inside the house. Nothing was really special there. Just a tea room with racks of books, a toilet, and a small bedroom. He wondered why this house was made. But, he got beat by Makoto, who answered his question first. This is the replica of the tea room where Madara Ojii-sama and Mina Obaa-chan used to live. Ka-sama asked it to be built so I could fit in with Konoha's lifestyle. It's still my most favorite place, she said and reminisced a bit. She remembered how his grandmother would teach her there, whether it was civilians subject to fuinjutsu, how her grandfather used to give her a scroll of his jutsu every birthday, how their grandparents would still get lovey-dovey while telling her their stories. She really missed those simple days. Naruto then looked at her and couldn't help but smile ironically. Uchiha Madara, who was driven by his revenge, he even summoned Jubi to destroy the world, is the opposite of it here. Ah, the irony when he knew that his Hashirama Jiji and Madara Tem was the reversed here. Thankfully, Hashirama doesn't have Sharingan to use as Izanami. And from some of Root's old mission journal, they acquired Hashirama's cell to breed Mokuten user and just succeed recently. Speaking of Root, surprise surprise, it still exists under Hokage's order. That little shit Danzo died because he tried to overtake the Hokage's seat, only to be killed by Minato after he got framed of kidnapping children. At least, he doesn't have to worry about his Kotoamatsukami, which could mess up his plan. But again, Minato could also try to do what Danzo did. I really like this place. It feels so comfy and relaxing, he said while looking around. Thank you, she said and then walked to the room. Then, she gave him a stack of books about fuinjutsu with brush and ink ready on the table. He read the book like there's no tomorrow. After he grasped the concept, he tried to draw a simple storage seal. It immediately worked when he put a kunai in it. Wow, that's amazing, Naruto-kun. A storage seal in the first try. Makoto said amazed. Even among the Uzumaki, her grandmother said that getting a seal to work on their first try was plain insane. There's only few of them, including Uzumaki Mito, who's able to make a seal in their first try. Those people later turned into creators of the most advanced seals ever made, including Mito's signature 8 trigram seals. He, thank you. He laughed sheepishly and smiled at her. It must be a really good thing that he succeeded on the first try. After that, he tried to make other basic seals, like chakra depletion tags, explosion tags, mark tags, etc. And then, he stepped up his training to making those seals in higher level. After he got a bit of hiccup during training, he decided to make 10 shadow clones and ordered them to start reading those books. Then, something came across his mind. Nay, Makoto-san. Could you change an active seal's function or at least reverse the seal? He asked. She wondered a bit before she took 2 papers and a brush. She drew a small chakra storage seal and a high chakra drain seal. To reverse the seal effect, you need higher seal level to do it. She said, and then put the chakra storage seal onto Naruto. After 5 seconds or so, the seal was all filled up. Makoto then put the chakra draining seal on top of the chakra storage one. Naruto felt a bit of his chakra was drained. She continued, that seal should had popped one of your shadow clones. But, because it was a replacement seal, the effectivity of it will go down to 95% at best or totally failed, depending of how advanced the seal was. She explained and then released the seal. She took other papers and draw low barrier seal and then put it on the table, causing a blue barrier to appear around the room. You could also change the seal itself. But, she paused and started to moving her finger as if she's writing with her fingers. To Naruto's amazement, she changed the array on the barrier seal, causing it to turn into elemental defense barrier. It requires such a perfect chakra control and a lot of chakra that even a seasoned medic nin like Shizune could only manipulate some high-level seal. Very high seals manipulation was never heard of, much less the Uzumaki level. No one, even from Uzumaki royal family, could manipulate a seal to such degree. She finished. Naruto was amazed and excited. Even after his transgression to another dimension, he's glad that there are still some things in the world that he could do. He couldn't call himself an Uzukage if he couldn't master Fuinjutsu to that level. Namikaze Uzumaki Naruto, Shidaime Uzukage of Neo Uzushigakur. I like the sound of that. Sandaime of Uzukage doesn't sound too shabby either. He thought. And the more he thought about it, more he was inclined to do it. He could be a leader to his village, albeit it's not Konoha like he wanted to. But he can provide a home for those who's been affected by shinobi wars, rebuild his own clan, and most importantly, protect his loved ones and everyone around them. Such thought made him more amped up than before. He made another 10 shadow clones and order half of them to read more books and another half to practice using chakra only. He's really getting into it. His mind was thinking every second about what combinations would work, or how to make it more devastating or complex. Makoto, on the other hand, was surprised with how much Naruto has done only hours after he started. Holy damn, was he a prodigy on another level. She didn't expect a medium-level complex seals, let alone a medium chakra one in a day. And judging from his pacing, he could reach the high-level complex seals in few days. She could only imagine how advanced he would be if he was given time in few years or so. She was witnessing a Fuinjutsu master in making. Wow, only 8 years old and he is already this far. How far can you go, Naruto-kun, she thought. She decided to put more effort on her seal making. It's been a long time since anyone get her pumped on making seals. Kushina, other than her secret lineage and utter disgust to actually step on Namikaze Uzumaki household, was busy training her daughters. Minato, she won't even think about it. She made 3 shadow clones and then starting to make new seals. Both of them were in their own world, discussing about seals. That's until Naruto got hit by the sunlight. It's already afternoon. Remembered about his schedule, he started to tidy up the books and gathered his work of the day. Going somewhere, Naruto-kun? Makoto asked curiously. Yes, I do. I want to visit Hanabi-chan. Hyuga-sama asked me to console her and to make sure she's alright. She has been quite unstable recently, and I will be damned if I can't help her. He said with determination. Oh, Makoto could only nod on that matter. Truly, She was a bit jealous. Izumi was really busy being an Anbu, so they have never met before. And Sasuke, unfortunately, is closer to his father, meaning he's not interested. So, there's no reason he would ever visit her house. But her woman's intuition said otherwise. It's because of Hanami Hyuga. Oh, who she's kidding. Hanami Hyuga, mother of Konoha, was her nickname. Kind and soft-spoken, combined with Naruto's desperate need for affection, their match made in heaven. If only Naruto was a bit childish, she would have lost to her. She would sing him lullaby, gave him the best of everything, and treat him like a prince. She would smother him with her love, both literally and figuratively. Seriously, those F-cup breeds would do their job wonderfully. Naruto, seeing Makoto's face, noticed what she was thinking. It's not hard to see why she reacted like that. From his memory, he knew how exactly Hyuga Matriarch treated him. And to be honest, he had a little crush on Hanami. Don't worry, Makoto-san. I'll be back tomorrow if you want to. He said, trying to reassure her. Of course, Naruto-kun. You can stay here whenever you want. She said a bit too excitedly. Realizing what she did, she blushed in embarrassment. Naruto can only laugh on her action. That's great. Thank you, Makoto-chan. He said gratefully. Makoto could only blush from the nickname. See you tomorrow, Makoto-chan. He said and then left. Makoto stood there for seconds, and then pumped her fist while jumping. Hell yeah, now I can meet him every day. Hyuga's household. After he had his lunch, he went to Hyuga compound. He ran towards the entrance, only to be stopped by the guard. Halt. The Hyuga commanded. What are you doing here, demon? He asked with a condescending tone while glaring at him. Great. Main branch. Just what I needed. He thought, annoyed. Damn it, out of anyone that's in guard, it had to be the main branch that day. I just want to see Hanabi-chan. Why are you looking at me like that? He asked while glaring back. Truthfully, he could exude enough aura to alarm Konoha about another invasion. But, decided to hold back. Well, the other Hyuga said smugly, Hanabi-sama and the elder had personally asked us to keep your dirty presence from tainting our sacred ground. He boasted. So, you're out of luck, demon. The other said and looked down on him. Finally, Hanabi-sama finally gained wisdom and decided to purge the filth presence from their ground. Oh, how long they have waited to say that to that little bastard. Fine. He stomped away. Inside, he was thinking of how to get through the compound. They were just almost got raided, so he bet that the Hyuga spent quite a fortune to fortify their place with some Uzumaki seals. He didn't know what seals they had, so he decided that the only way in is through deception or some sort of trick. Wait, I can do genjutsu now. He thought while he just facepalmed at himself. He never used genjutsu, considering how shot his chakra control was. Now, he can use and make genjutsu. What genjutsu should I use? Wait, they're Hyuga. Of course, I know. He thought and giggled a bit at his mischievousness. Kurama, who knew what he was thinking, also giggled. Oh well, Naru-kun will always be Naru-kun. She thought and saw the scene unfolded. Naruto made a shadow clone and commanded him to use perfect henge. The clone turned into Meta Guy. The clone then used some genjutsu on him. The guard was guarding the gate, when they saw the green beast of Konoha suddenly appeared out of nowhere. Dynamic entry. He yelled on top of his lung. Both of them looked at the direction, only to feel annoyed by the presence of that man. Great. He said while looking away, state your business, Guy-san. He asked with sarcasm dripping in every letter. Good evening, my fellow shinobi. He said boisterously, I heard young Hanabi was training very hard. Hearing those news makes me want to do something spectacular. And how does that have to do with us, Guy-san? The other asked, not even paying any attention to him anymore. This man right here is probably the definition of annoying. Everything that he had done only screams tiring, useless, and ridiculous. Thank Kami that this man cannot reproduce by himself. The thought of another him sent scary shiver to their spine. I want to train her, of course. With the power of my training and her youthful energy, her youth would explode. He said and then laughed. The Hyuga let those thought in. Young Mistress Hanabi, with Gakuen style, dressed with that hideous green suit, large caterpillar-like eyebrow, and screaming youth everywhere she goes. No, not the young mistress. No, you can't, you abominable green man. Both of them yelled. But he ignored them. Time to start the training, young Hanabi. Charge, he said and then ran into the compound and destroy everything in his path. The guards were shocked for few seconds before they rushed into the compound. No, Hanabi-sama, we will protect you from that abomination. Hanabi-sama, stay away from that monster. And then few seconds later, huge ruckus can be heard around the compound. Both Naruto and Kurama laughed at that scene. Not trying to waste any more time, he decided to go in. Few minutes later, Hanabi's room. Hanabi was tired after the shenanigan that just happened. The green beast of Konoha decided to take her, or kidnap her as her family said, to his training. She wasn't really against it, but the majority of the main branch family decided to keep her in the maximum security room, which she admitted was a bit too ridiculous. But after the problem was solved, she went back to her room. There, he saw something near the window. There's a bento box. She opened it and found all sorts of dishes that she loved. Not only the type, but the amount, decoration, color of the box, everything is perfect. Even the detail on the scone was spot on. But then, she reminded of something. There's only one person that can make her lunchbox to that detail. And she was correct. She found a piece of paper stuck on top of it. To Hanabi-chan, I'm really sorry if you found the lunchbox not to your liking. I just want you to know that I never, ever to even consider seeing you as an object for my own goal. I don't want to ask you to trust me. I just want you to be happy by yourself. If there's any chance you want to meet me, I will always be there. Naruto. She could only scowl on the note. Liar. He lied about himself. How could I trust him like that? Everything written there must be fake. I had to tell this to the elder. She was about to get up. Fortunately, one of the elder entered her room. Evening, young Hanabi. I have some news for you. He said emotionless. Hanabi immediately got into her position. Is there anything you want to tell me, honorable elder? She asked politely. Yes, I do. This is about you. Next week, we're going to a meeting between Konoha and Daimyo of the Lightning. You are to be tasked to socialize and bring new connections for our clan. You are even allowed to choose your own future partner, as long as it is within our requirements. And always bring Hyuga the honor and superiority in everything you do. The elder said with an expecting tone and look. She wanted to sigh, hearing those complicated stuff. But she knew better than to get herself punishment. He bowed down obediently. I shall not disappoint, honorable elder. She answered. Good, he said and started to walk away from the room. Before that, she managed to get his attention. Anyo, she said meekly, only to receive a glare from the other end. I got this F from someone, she said weakly. She didn't know why, but she felt her resolve crumbled with every step he took. And when he took the lunchbox, she started to wonder if it was the right decision. He looked unimpressed, before an evil smile appeared on his face. Good one, young Hanabi. You are truly to be destined with greatness. He looked at her with his smile that really scared her out. She saw him bringing the box to the veranda. And then he did something that she didn't expect to happen. He slammed the lunchbox very hard. The perfectly made dishes inside it either got smashed or were cluttered on the ground. She saw ants starting to swarm the food. You were starting to notice your position well, young Hanabi. You rejected that demon's temptation to false promise and sense of relationship. It won't be long before you're going to be the true heiress of our clan. He boasted and laughed a bit maniacally. Then, he walked out of the room with the same smile he had before. Hanabi could only witness what just happened. For every single fiber in her body that hated him, she certainly didn't know how it would affect her. She could feel every taste of the food. She could feel every sweat that he poured into the food. She could feel every little money that he had to use to give her the best that he could give. And most importantly, she could feel his attention on every single thing he made. But now, it was no more. Everything was destroyed. Gone in just few seconds. She could feel her heart wrenched. Those wonderful things that he made, has come to an end. And from now on, she had to let go of it. Why do I hesitate? It's what I want, she reassured herself. But she felt lost on her own words. She could only ask herself and looked at the mess on the soil. She could only look there, even from the futon. She let her veranda open. And then, she cried herself to sleep. Forest of the Death, Naruto's arena. Right, here we go. He said and made a hand seal. Taju Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. He yelled. Thousands of his shadow clones appeared. The thing is, there are 45,000 clones now. I'm not even surprised anymore. This is just plain ridiculous. He sighed while Kurama giggled at his assessment. Alright, split with the same proportions as we did. But now, I want each regime to give me 200 clones each. He commanded. Then everybody went to their group while some of them left. There are 4,200 of them. Okay. Now, 4,000 of you are going to do Fuinjutsu training, while 200 of you supervise it. You're allowed to experiment, as long as you're sure about its capability. But remember, we're still not an expert. Therefore, you're only allowed to improve the performance of a seal, or combine functions between two of the same level seals. No new function whatsoever. Got it? He asked those clones. Yes, boss. They yelled back. Now all of you, begin. He yelled and the clones went to their own position, while Naruto was doing exercise. Safe to say, Fuinjutsu section was the most volatile area there. No other regimes dared to be in 5-mile radius. After around an hour, his blood clone arrived with a big grin on his face. Why are you smiling like that? Naruto asked, a bit creeped out. Oh, I got big news for you. You're going to love it. He said with the same grin. He decided to dismiss his clone and started processing the information. Sure enough, he was satisfied. Holy crap, he was right. This is more effective than I thought it would be. He thought, while Kurama was smirking evilly. Well, what do we have here? I know you got some evil bone in you, Naru-kun. She said. Well, she wasn't wrong though. The masked man spotted with obsidian. Another assassination attempt towards our Hokage. Followed with another headline of, Masked Man is Iowa Shinobi all along. Followed with many articles about waging war with Iwagakure to teach them another lesson for messing with Konoha, the strongest hidden village, or to show our might towards those pebble eaters. There's also a small article about Masked Man as an Uchiha. He had feeling that article won't be small next time he read it, that's for sure. Wow, I can't believe my clones had set up the perfect scenario. He thought with a grin. Judging from those headlines, he already guessed the picture of Konoha's politics in few years. Then he went back to his training. Few hours later. Alright, I think that's it for the day. He said to himself. After he fortify his training ground even more with more genjutsu and thousands of barrier seal, he got out from the area. A few minutes of walking, he sensed that someone was near him. And judging from the chakra, they are around Anbu level. Naruto prepared his kunai for the worst. Clang. He parried the sword that was trying to slash him while he tried to dodge. It goes on for a minute before the attacker stopped in front of him. He considered to use his jutsu, only to find out it was actually Konoha Anbu. Wait. Hold on. Stop. Stop. I'm from Konoha. He yelled frantically, hoping that the person is friendly. The person stopped their movement, and it was tense for a few minutes. Who are you? The Anbu simply asked in a womanly voice. Naruto was surprised, but decided to be on guard. Naruto Uzumaki. Ma'am, he answered simply, kunai still ready. After few seconds, the Anbu moved to behind him using Shunshin. Naruto noticed that she swung with the back of her sword. Not deciding to complicate the problem, he let himself got knocked out, but still conscious to his surroundings. The Anbu then took his body away. Izumi's perspective. Izumi, or known as Itachi, could only sighed at her incompetence. She almost blew her cover up to a civilian, and to such a high-profile one. She was a carbon copy of Makoto. With the exception of her shorter, but straight hair, she looks almost exactly the same as Makoto. She was wearing a normal Anbu outfit, which consisted of a gray vest with black shirt and Anbu pants. But in addition to that, she also had a thick bandage wrapping around her chest, which can be looked as a wound bandage in her male form. She also had a giant black robe with high collar as the last protection should everything failed. It was a perfect disguise, but it could get stuffy, so she usually hangs it while mission. But she always wears it in the village to protect her identity. Well, not that day. At that time, she was not wary for her surrounding. To be fair, it is in Konoha and nobody ever crossed or used Training Ground 44 due to its story and rumors surrounding it. So, she uses it as a personal training ground. At that time, she was training as usual and she wanted to head back. Then, she sensed someone near her. She didn't know whose chakra it was, so she decided to subjugate the person. Turns out, she didn't expect their counterattack. So, she decided to stop and looked at her opponent. "Who are you?" she asked with low tone. She thanked her low tone was quite husky, so it was easily misheard as a man's voice. "Naruto Uzumaki, ma'am." At that answer, her mind went batshit crazy and went overdrive. She didn't realize she already teleported behind him and readied her weapon. Thankfully, some part of her mind still able to control her body, so she didn't accidentally kill him. She just realized her mistake after she knocked him out. "Crap. Now what do I do?" she thought. Then, she got an idea to bring him to Konoha Police Department. She grabbed him, brought out her coat, and properly applied her seal. She started jumping from tree to tree, while thinking about her victim. Naruto Uzumaki, or formerly known as Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze, the disowned son of the fourth Hokage and Kushina Uzumaki. More known as the Kyuubi or demon among Konoha's people. Rarely being in the village, she doesn't really know much about him. The only important information that she had to highlight was that he held Kyuubi's soul. Other than that, she doesn't know any story of his disownment, or how his life was. Being Hokage's former son, she assumed that he's still living a good life, although the disownment part really intrigued her about his past. Konoha Police Department, minutes later. After they arrived, she was saluted by two Uchiha who were standing by. Ignoring their gazes toward the boy, she entered the office. "Good evening, Itachi-san. What can I help you with?" the officer asked, also looking at the boy on her shoulder. "About this boy," he said, and show him Naruto's face. "Do you know where Naruto Uzumaki lived? I want to take him back to his house." The officer's face changed from disdain into an evil smirk. Well, Itachi-san. I do know where he resides. Shall we escort you there?" he said with a smug face. She was surprised. She knows well how they usually done nothing if Anbu was included in the job. This was out of ordinary. "May I know what the reason is?" he asked simply. The officer took a book from his drawer. It was Konoha Police Department's Law and Protocol. It's said here in Article 22 regarding military interference in civilian affair, subsection 3 that's written as, if Anbu were to unable to complete her task, police department shall provide them with a complement of officer with minimum of 1 junin, 2 chunin, or 1 chunin and 1 tokubetsu junin. The personnel provided can also be added to up to 3 junin, 4 chunin, or 2 chunin with a tokubetsu junin and junin. He recited. She was really suspicious by their behavior. Never, in her life, police of Konoha actually follows the protocol, let alone recite and remember it. But, due to its being the law, she can't help but to oblige to it. All right. Assemble the team how you see fit. He said. She knew something really wrong was going, but as an Anbu, she can't just use her gut feeling as the reason to break the law. As you wish, Itachi-san, the officer said. She put Naruto on one of the chairs and stood on the corner of the room. She started looking at his face. A bit too pale for normal person, but otherwise he's normal. She then noticed the whisker mark on his face. Probably something from being a Jinchuriki. She thought. She got a fair share of looking at other Jinchuriki, and she knows that there will be some abnormal trait they inherited from the Biju they have. Then, her eyes marveled to his jumpsuit. It was a bit dirty here and there, but otherwise it looks normal. Well, not the orange color though. Speak for yourself, though. My entire wardrobe is all dark blue or black. She thought and smiled a bit. And then she went back to his face. Something got her attention. She doesn't know why, but she can't help but notice to stare at it. And then she marveled the shapes and curves on his face. Something about it screams divine. Like the curvature is just unique, not in a bad way. For an 8-year-old, he's a looker. Kami-sama, what did I think about? I never ever thought about appearance, let alone about a male like that. She chided internally. Even after noticing her thought, she can't help but going back to look at his face again. She decided to look away, although with her cheeks getting a bit rosy. She was trying to get him out of her head until 4 people appeared. 2 Chunin, 1 Tokubetsu Junin, and another Junin. She raised her eyebrow. What the hell do they need to escort a civilian, a child no less, with full gear, including weapons? Sakachi squad, ready for duty. Shall we go, Itachi-san? The man asked, a bit too eager. She can't help but to question his motive. He raised his eyebrow and asked, what's with all the equipment, Junin-san? Oh, these. He asked innocently. That boy's residence is near the red light district. The area was known to be filled with criminals and ex-ninja. Were equipped to ensure that he reached safely. The Junin answered. She couldn't help but get even more anxious about this operation. But all of his reasoning is on the mission perimeter, so she couldn't do anything. He gave a nod and grabbed Naruto. He let the squad shunshin first, followed by him. Red light district, Naruto's room. After a few minutes, they reached their destination. Izumi just cannot believe her eyes. Hokage's former son, living in the central of red light district. Are you sure this is the location? He asked skeptically. Yes, it is. According to our intel, this is his place. Quite fitting for a demon like him. He said, whispering the latter. Unfortunately, she was still in shock so she couldn't catch his words. He then looked at them again with skepticism clearly shown on his face. The Junin only shrugged and brought out the intel. It's true, the data shown that he's registered here. She only gaped at the data. Meanwhile, Naruto was taken forcefully from her arms. That's what snapped her out of daze. What are you doing to him? He asked while glaring at the Junin. We're just doing our job, Itachi-sama. Konoha Police Force Operational Code 312 regarding unconscious escort, victim from ninja operation. It was stated that at minimum 2 officers have to be stationed near the person, and the rest guarding the access point that may lead to another harm or injury toward the person. The guarding Chunin said. Again, another anomaly in this operation. And again, she's not allowed to interfere with it. Even if her intuition said something fishy is going on. And because of her status as Anbu, she couldn't interfere with civilian affair, unless it's Hokage's order. She could only glare at the room as she slowly moving away from her location. She knew that something really wrong is going on behind this whole operation. Uchiha compound. After arriving at her house, she took off her sandal. I'm home, she called. Few seconds later, her mother greeted her back. Welcome home, Itachi-kun. How's your day? Makoto asked with a smile on her face. Nothing. But there's a little accident. He said while taking a pack of Pocky stick from his pouch. Well, want to tell me about it? She asked him, and gestured towards his room. He only nodded and then both of them walked into his room. There, he told Makoto everything. Oh, well, Makoto answered uncomfortably, that's one way to hide your identity. Yeah, he said while continue munching the snacks, I hope I didn't hit him too hard. But I still can't believe a child of Hokage nonetheless lived there, he mumbled. But, Makoto heard it and she felt her world froze. What? She asked dumbly. Her mind went into panic. It must be him. What? He asked again simply. That's until he saw her face change. She was frightened. Who? She grabbed his body and shook it frantically. Who was that boy you were talking about? He was surprised. His mother never reacted like this. Millions of questions starting to swarm his mind. Getting impatient and more panic, Makoto shook his body even harder. Who is he? Izumi Uchiha? His mother asked a bit loudly. She unconsciously dropped her disguise seal and answered with a small voice. Naruto Uzumaki, she said to her mother. She closed her eyes, waiting for her punishment. That's until she felt her mother's hand let go of her and frantically opening her window. After that, her mother disappeared. Feeling responsible, she followed her mother's track. Konoha, nighttime. She has been following her mother for around 10 minutes and she started to get tired. She knew her mother was strong. She didn't gain her S-rank classification in bingo book for nothing. But even until now, she never saw her mother at her full capability. And imagining what's going, she knew that she, in the only words that can describe her condition, fucked up. Then, she heard a scream out of nowhere and she saw her mother headed there even faster. After they arrived, she witnessed the worst torture she ever seen. Naruto was there mangled up. His body almost lost all blood in his body. Every joint or bone in his body had been cracked and he almost lost his arm. Get the fuck away from him, you monster. Her mother yelled and then formed some hand seals. Her mother formed a wall of fire surrounding him. The villager who didn't react fast enough, immediately burnt to crisp, while their surrounding caught on fire the fire spread even more from them. Izumi looked at her mother's victim. She saw the body of the Junin got burned to ashes. To say she was flabbergasted was an understatement. What the hell? Were all of that crap was just to get me out of the picture, so they can torture him? She thought. Then, her anger started to raise like never before. She never felt so disgusted and furious in her entire life. She never knew something like this made her blood boil that much. She never knew that she could be angry not only as a ninja, or a person, but also as a woman. But before she could do anything, her mother had finished the job. The villagers dispersed and run away, while dead bodies just laid there. She then approached her mother and Naruto. Naruto-kun, just hang in there, she said while she used small-scale healing jutsu. She couldn't believe his mangled body slowly become whole again, as if there's no cut. After his body looked well enough, Makoto started to shunshun away. Izumi decided to follow her mother again. Naruto's apartment. After they arrived, Makoto put down his body on the futon and went to kitchen. Izumi, who doesn't know anything to do, stayed beside his bed and contemplated what just happened. I can't believe what just happened there. How could someone do that to such a young boy? What had he done to be treated to such an atrocious attack? What kind of life had he been through for 8 years? Was it better when he's Hokage's son? How could Hokage-sama never heard a wind of it? All those questions keep appearing, until she noticed that his body moved a bit. After that, his eyes opened up a bit. Ow! What just happened? He asked to no one in particular. Her body froze, didn't know what to do. What should I do? Greet him? Apologize to him? I don't know what to do. She thought before she heard he called her name. Izumi ne-san, is that you? He said. She felt her mind crashing down. How the hell did he know? Before she could do anything, Makoto came in with a plate of fried rice on her hand and put it on top of the small coffee table. Alright, I think it's time for me to tell you something, her mother said, leaving no room for objection. Makoto then told her everything she knew, while Naruto hungrily ate the dinner. After listening her mother's story, she had a blank stare on her face. What? She asked slowly, why did Hokage-sama do such a thing? To be honest, I don't really know. It's probably decided by civilian council that somehow got passed, either by Daimyo-sama or that bastard himself. It could also be Minato doesn't want any bad reputation surrounding his name, knowing one of his family contains Kyuubi's soul, which is fucking unbelievable. She spat at the end. Even now I still don't know what the hell happened to Kushina. She used to be so unpredictable, but now anytime Minato talked, she followed his words, letter to letter. She even said that she wanted to have a lot of children. But now, look at this. She disowned her own son who's still growing up. A child who still needs maternal love. A child who still want to feel joy. Suddenly, all of those are flushed out because her oh so honorable husband said so. And don't get me fucking started on that Namikaze son of a bitch fuckface with always smug face that I want to burn away with Amaterasu. She said while unconsciously activated her Mangekyo Sharingan. Izumi, once again was caught off guard with her mother's rage. But it was understandable. Everything that had been done to Naruto was wrong at all level. Now she understood why her mother sometimes not at home. She did have to train early like him. But he doesn't train for war, but he trains to survive. Even her, an Anbu, could feel her heart cringe at how horrible his life is, to have to wield weapon just to survive from your own people inside the village itself. Wait, hold on, she said, realizing about something, why does he know my name? This time, Makoto looked away. She couldn't tell that she broke down in front of Naruto and told him everything. She knew that Izumi doesn't like her real identity being known by outsider, except her. She couldn't tell her that she misses her daughter so much. Izumi was waiting for her mother's answer, only to hear Naruto's voice. Because she misses you, he said while looking at her with strangely concerned look, she misses the real you, her daughter. She's pained because you're lost. I know how it feels. But I know it even pains her more to see you don't ask her about your problems. She knows that you're in a problem, yet she can't do anything about it. My parents probably hate me, but I know there are some people who loves me. So, you can imagine how sad it is if you, her own flesh and blood is in turmoil. Suddenly, Izumi got attacked by her own flashback. Memories appeared and she remembered all of them, but she finally noticed how her mother looks every time she goes on a mission. She knew her own problem, yet she didn't notice that her mother always yearned for her to just open up and tell her everything. Then, she felt somebody crashed into her. It was her mother, sobbing her heart out. Please, I want you to be happy, I want you to know to be my daughter again, even just for a moment, I want you to know no matter what you do, Ka-san will always be with you, she sobbed. And that's it for Izumi. She finally cried her heart out. Both mother and daughter finally become one again. After that, both of them confessed their problem to each other. They stayed like that for a while until they smell something sweet. I made some hot chocolates for us. I hope I didn't make too much, he said, a bit nervously. The Uchiha could only giggled at his action and took a sip from their own cup. They enjoyed their cup, while Izumi and sometimes Naruto shared their stories. Laughter filled their room overnight. During the conversation, Izumi felt the past by so quickly. After the heartwarming revelation with her mother, they spent their time talking with each other. She couldn't help but feel amazed, yet sad about how Naruto's life is, more so for her mother. She finally knew how such a young boy could go toe-on-toe with her, one of the best Anbu, in close-quarter combat. And not only in combat, but his mentality as well. The more stories he told, the more she came to detach herself more from Konoha, especially every time the Hokage was involved. After they finished their drinks, the Uchiha said their goodbye. Thank you so much, Naruto-kun. I don't know how I could pay you back for such a favor. Makoto said happily, while Izumi smiled at him. No problem. But can I ask you a favor? He asked. What is it, Naruto-kun? She asked. Can you teach me Bukijutsu? He asked while scratching his head. I tried to do it by only looking at it, but I always failed to do more than slashing around my weapon like a madman. Oh, is that it? Makoto asked and take a thinking posture. What if I included weapon training while you're training with shurikenjutsu? Is that good for you? Izumi added. Or you can ask me if you want to, as long as I'm not on mission. Well, that's if you want to. She said a bit nervously. Of course. He answered with glee. Thank you so much, Makoto-san. Izu, he suddenly shut his mouth with his hand. Izumi, in particular, was confused with what happened to him. Naruto then bowed down and said, I'm sorry for the slip-up, Itachi-ni-san. Izumi was surprised, both by herself and Naruto. She would never let her mother call her by her real name, let alone stranger. But now, she felt really bad for forbidding that name to Naruto. She was also surprised with how much humility he has. Considering how much he had done for her and her mother today, she didn't really think about it until Naruto realized about his mistake. You can call me Izumi, Naruto-kun. After what happened today and from the story you told to me, I think I can trust you that much. She said and smiled a bit, showing her sincereness, but, other than Ka-sama and you, nobody could ever know my real identity is. I hope you understand, Naruto-kun. Naruto hearing that, beamed, of course. I swear it on my Nindo. Believe it. Thank you, Makoto-san, Izumi-ne-chan. Izumi blushed from how Naruto called her. Why am I blushing again? I felt nice though to be called Ne-chan. Makoto seen that face, and she was a bit jealous about it. Izumi was much younger than her, and she could date Naruto if she wanted to. She was afraid that Naruto would lose interest for her in romantic relationship. Damn, I really have to address that problem with Makoto. It really makes me sad knowing that she's always to lose me. That bastard really affected her. He thought. To release the tension, he waved them goodbye. With that, they went home. After seeing them disappeared, he lay down on his futon. Remembering the scene made Naruto's heart warm. He's glad that he could help Makoto for her problem, while solving Izumi's problem at the same time. He looked at the moon. It was full moon, and that reminds him about Kaguya. Kaguya-chan, I really want to meet you again. Wherever you're, just wait for me, okay? He thought. Then he felt his body got wrapped by a warm feeling. It was Kurama's chakra, hugging him. I'm sure always thinks about you whenever she can. She said while some of her chakra enveloped him. But, she said before Naruto abruptly got pulled into his mindscape, how about cuddling with me now? Your dear wifey really misses you, she cooed. Naruto, deciding to play with her game, revealed himself as his adult form with his old outfit, which definitely got Kurama hot and wet at the same time. Then, Naruto skillfully locked her body under his, with every single part touching the right spot. Oh dear, he said and slid up his knee closer to her juicy thighs. I don't know that my wife is such a vixen. And then they cuddled like there's no tomorrow. See you next story.